Hello and welcome to Intelligent Pod, where we dive deep into the fascinating frontiers of human intelligence, behavior, and what truly makes us tick. I'm your host, Sophie Lane, and I'm thrilled you're tuning in today. Now, whether you're listening on your morning walk, driving to work, or taking a moment to yourself at home, I want to thank you for choosing Intelligent Pod. Today, we're exploring a topic that's both universal and, in a way, a little bit mysterious. The science of awe, its impact on our brains and our behavior. Let's pause for a moment. Think back to a time when you felt truly awestruck. Maybe you were standing at the edge of the Grand Canyon, watching a meteor shower, seeing your newborn for the first time, or even just listening to a piece of music that moved you to tears. That feeling, that sudden, overwhelming sense of wonder and insignificance in the face of something vast, is awe. But what's actually going on in our brains when we experience awe? How does it shape the way we think, feel, and interact with the world? And, perhaps most importantly, can we cultivate more awe in our everyday lives? And would that actually make us happier, healthier, or more connected? That's what we're unpacking in today's episode. Let's jump in by defining our topic a little more precisely. Awe is often described as an emotional response to things that are perceived as vast and that transcend our current frames of reference. It can be triggered by nature, art, music, spiritual experiences, or even the achievements of others. Psychologists Dacher Keltner and Jonathan Haidt, two leading voices in the field, describe awe as a mix of perceived vastness and a need for accommodation. In other words, our brains have to stretch to make sense of what we're experiencing. Now, awe isn't just a fleeting emotion. It actually has measurable effects on our brains and bodies. According to a 2015 study published in the journal Emotion, experiencing awe can lower levels of pro-inflammatory cytokines, which are markers of chronic inflammation. Inflammation, as you may know, is linked to all sorts of health issues, from heart disease to depression. That means a moment of awe could, quite literally, be good for your health. Let's bring in a relatable statistic. In a 2021 survey conducted by the Greater Good Science Center at UC Berkeley, 75% of respondents reported feeling awe at least once a week. That's right. Despite our busy, screen-saturated lives, awe is still accessible to most of us. But here's the kicker. Only about 15% said they actively sought out awe-inspiring experiences. So most of us stumble into awe by accident, rather than intentionally seeking it out. Let's break down why awe matters and how it can shape who we are. First, let's look at the psychological perspective. Awe has been shown to shift our attention away from ourselves and toward the bigger picture. This is sometimes called the small self effect. When we're awestruck, our sense of self shrinks, and we feel more connected to others and the world around us. A study led by Paul Piff at UC Irvine found that participants who watched awe-inspiring clips, think towering redwoods or breathtaking waterfalls, were more likely to help a stranger pick up dropped pens than those who watched neutral videos. The researchers concluded that awe encourages pro-social behavior, making us kinder and more generous. It's as if awe briefly rewires our brains to prioritize community over individuality. From a scientific and neurological standpoint, awe triggers activity in the prefrontal cortex, which is involved in complex thinking, and the default mode network, which is linked to self-reflection. At the same time, awe appears to decrease activity in the brain's default mode of self-centered thinking. In other words, awe gets us out of our heads. It can even alter our perception of time, making us feel like we have more of it. That's pretty wild, right? Culturally, awe has played a central role in human societies. Think of ancient monuments, grand cathedrals, or even the way we gather at concerts or sporting events. These experiences bind us together, often through a shared sense of wonder. In many cultures, awe is closely tied to spirituality or religious ritual, but it's also present in secular experiences, like scientific discovery or artistic creation. I want to share a real-life anecdote that stuck with me. Maya Angelou, A legendary poet and civil rights activist once described how she felt when she saw the Grand Canyon for the first time. She said, "I had heard people say, 'Oh, I felt so small, I felt insignificant.' But not me. I felt big because I was there. I was so amazed that I was there, being a person who could see such beauty." That's the paradox of awe. It can make us feel both tiny and immense, insignificant, yet deeply connected to everything around us. There's also an academic study I want to highlight. In 2012, researchers at Stanford University asked participants to spend 1 minute gazing up at tall eucalyptus trees. A control group looked up at a plain building. The tree gazers reported feeling more awe, and afterward were more likely to help someone in need. The simple act of looking up at something vast, even for just a minute, had a real impact on their behavior. Let's shift gears for a moment and talk about actionable ways to invite more awe into our daily lives, because, as we've seen, awe isn't reserved for grand adventures or rare experiences. It's available to all of us if we know where to look. First, spend time in nature. Even if it's just a walk in your local park, nature is one of the most reliable triggers for awe. Look up at the clouds. Pay attention to the intricate patterns on a leaf, or catch the sunrise if you're an early riser. Second, expose yourself to art and music that moves you. Visit a museum, listen to a symphony, or watch a documentary about the wonders of the universe. Sometimes, awe comes from recognizing the brilliance of human creativity. Third, practice awe journaling. At the end of each day, jot down one moment, big or small, that made you feel a sense of wonder. Maybe it's the laughter of a child, the kindness of a stranger, or the taste of your favorite food. Over time, this practice can train your brain to notice and savor awe. Fourth, seek out new perspectives. Read about scientific discoveries, explore cultures different from your own, or try something you've never done before. Novelty and learning are powerful pathways to awe. Fifth, slow down and pay attention. Awe often arises when we're fully present. Put away your phone, take a few deep breaths, and really notice the world around you. Mindfulness and awe go hand in hand. So let's recap what we've covered today. Awe is a powerful emotion that arises when we encounter something vast and beyond our usual frame of reference. It's more than just a pleasant feeling. It can improve our health, make us kinder, and connect us to something bigger than ourselves. The science tells us that awe changes our brains, shifts our behavior, and enriches our lives in both subtle and profound ways. Here's my reflective closing thought for you. In a world that often feels chaotic or overwhelming, awe can be an anchor, a reminder of beauty, possibility, and our capacity for wonder. The next time you find yourself rushing through the day, pause and look for something that takes your breath away, even for just a moment. Let awe be your companion. Thank you so much for joining me today on Intelligent Pod. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. It really helps others discover the show. You can find show notes and links to research studies mentioned in this episode at intelligentpod.com. And I'd love to hear from you. Email me at sophie@intelligentpod.com with your thoughts, questions, or your own stories of awe. Until next time, stay curious, stay inspired, and remember, there's wonder all around us, just waiting to be noticed. Take care, and I'll see you in the next episode.